Hi, everybody, and welcome back to INTR 101 College Success Strategies. Now, because this course is all about success in college and feeling successful, I wanted to take some time and talk about how we define success in college. So with that, let's dive right in. So I want you all to think about on your own, and you can pause the video, what is the definition of success? Now, if we look at, if we just Google success, we have the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, the attainment of popularity or profit, a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains prosperity. What's wrong with this definition, though? Any guesses? Well, technically nothing. So it's just a very narrow definition, and it mostly focuses on big accomplishments. And that tends to be what we see in any sort of news articles about someone being successful, right? Forbes is all about these really big successes. And it also doesn't consider outside influences or struggles in a person's life. So pretty much it's just very generic and narrow. So what we want to do is kind of expand that definition. And your first instinct might be, well, let's look at a definition from a successful person. And I want you to think about why that might not be a great idea. So I've got a couple of ones here. We've got the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary, and forget the risk and take the fall. If it's what you want, then it's worth it all. So these are two quick famous definitions of success that you can look up. And let's take a second, go ahead, pause the video, and just think about why this might not be the best definition of success either. And the reason it's not is that those definitions of success are really specific to that person's life. And these definitions may also play into something called survivor bias. And what survivor bias is you tend to only hear about successes from people who made it through, who survived an ordeal. And you don't hear about all of the challenges and maybe the not so successful instances that occurred to other people. So what this does is it can actually make us feel a lot worse if we don't meet all of the qualifications or conditions of that other person's successful story. So keep in mind that there are always exceptions, right? These are two of my favorite kind of quotes about success in life in general. So we've got Beyonce, you can work super hard and give everything you have and lose. And we have Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek saying, "It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life." So what's important when it comes to looking at another person's definition of success is to be critical of the advice that you're taking in. So keep in mind that a lot of celebrities or successful people were able to achieve success because of access to resources that not everyone has. Maybe they have a ton of money or a ton of influence or come from a really successful family. That can contribute to their ability to be successful in other things. So role models are great and they're wonderful to have. You just want to make sure that you're finding role models and definitions of success that are inspiring, but also relevant to your life, right? So keep that in mind if you're reading someone's autobiography or some cool article about, the top 100 most successful people in your field. Just keep in mind maybe some of the things that were going on in their life that aren't necessarily true for yours. So what I'm getting at here is how our definition of success needs to be really personal to us. So our personal definition helps motivate us when we're going through really rough times, right? If we're always holding ourselves to someone else's standard, that can be really difficult to motivate and it can end up stressing us out more. So we're more likely to complete a goal when we define what the finished goal will look like, when we give ourselves, what success means for that goal. And defining success ourselves allows for more flexibility and can help us bounce back if things don't go as expected. And what I mean by that is that your success or your definition of success might change throughout your life. And that's awesome. And that's a really great thing. So now we want to think about what goes into our definition of success. So some questions you might want to ask yourself are, what goal am I working towards? What will make me feel accomplished? And how can I balance the challenges and the rewards? So occasionally we set our goals really, really high. And I think it's awesome to have super lofty goals. That's really amazing. But if we don't give ourselves enough support or enough flexibility, sometimes it can be hard to meet those goals and then we just feel worse. So thinking about how much challenge and effort we want to put in for the perceived outcome and reward is a really important thing to consider. So how does all of this apply to college, right? This class is called College Success Strategies. Well, each semester, we need to sit down and evaluate what success looks like for the classes and the things that we're involved with then. So getting an A isn't always the best definition of success. If you're like me, that was my only definition of success when I started college, right? Like my freshman year, I was like, it's 4.0 or bust, I gotta have it. And I quickly realized that like the grade didn't matter as much as my comprehension and understanding of the material that I was learning. So success in one class may be very different than success in another. And we must reevaluate our definition of success for each new challenge. So let's say you sit down in your like 300 level French class and you think, I'm going to get an A, I've done well in all of my other French classes, I'm feeling good about this. And then you get into the material and you realize, oh, this is a really big challenge. Maybe an A wasn't the best definition of success for this class. Maybe what I should be aiming for is better comprehension and like a B. Maybe that's more doable for yourself. So really take some time with the classes that you have in front of you to evaluate what's going to be most meaningful to you in that class and how you can best accomplish that goal. So I've mentioned here a couple of times that your definition of success should be flexible. And you might ask, well, why? Like, why can't I have one set definition of success? And the big reason is that life happens, right? So you might need to adapt your expectations to fit changing priorities. It may be a pandemic that is occurring, or some family emergency that pops up, or some other big event within your life that you don't necessarily have control over, but that impacts your ability to do coursework or to engage in this college environment. So making sure that you're flexible for those things. But there's another side of this and another reason why your definition of success needs to be flexible, and that's that studies have shown that students' needs and priorities change over the course of their degree. So you can see here in this table that for first year students, you know, like academic achievement was super, super high, but it kind of dropped off at a certain point. Or that, you know, for, let's look at one of these. In year one, for first year students, life management wasn't necessarily their number one priority. But then if you skip ahead to year three with those same students, that suddenly became a really big priority. So just how we change over the course of our college career is going to impact what we see as successful. So if you're starting out, success may be doing really well in your classes, getting that degree and getting a super high paying job. But later, your goal might be understanding the material really well, regardless of the grade, and getting a job that you really love that maybe doesn't make as much money as you thought it would. So keep those things in mind and realize that it's totally normal and natural for that to happen. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's all about growth when you're in college. So the kind of last little bit of defining success that I want to talk about is defining success under pressure. So I meet with a lot of students one-on-one who, you know, all throughout the semester, they're feeling good, but suddenly one week, maybe it's like week 5 of the semester, they have 6 different assignments due all on Friday and just not enough time to get them done. And they're really stressed because they can't complete these assignments to the level that they normally would. So we want to think about, okay, how do we change our definition of success in that instance to feel more prepared and still get the stuff done? So here's an example. Maybe a professor assigns a 10-page paper due at the end of the week. You have several other large assignments due that week as well. How do you manage and adapt your definition of success in that class to still feel good about it? So what you can use is something called the threshold approach. And the way that this works is you decide the minimum grade that you're comfortable with receiving. So you're going to reevaluate your definition of success for this single assignment. Maybe your standard threshold is an 80%, but with everything else going on, maybe it drops down to a 75 or a 70. Once you decide what that minimum is for yourself, you want to understand the work required to get that grade. Hopefully you have a rubric, or it's a pretty straightforward approach to figure out, okay, what's the amount of effort I need to put in to get that 75%? Then you're going to complete that amount of work and reevaluate and decide if you have the bandwidth to put in the time required to get a higher grade. So it might happen where you put in enough work to get that 75. Let's say it's a math assignment, so you do 75% of the problems. And then you realize, oh, that didn't take me quite as long as I expected. I'm going to go back and do a couple more and get it up to an 80%. Or you might get those 75% of problems done with a couple hours to spare, and you decide, nah, I'm not going to waste any more time on this. I'm going to shift my priorities to another thing, and I'll catch up on the next one. So what's really, really important to note about this approach is that it's not something you should be doing for every assignment or project. Normally, you want to start soon enough so you can get things and you don't have to reevaluate that bare minimum grade that you're happy with. This should be something that only comes up and only gets really used a lot in times of high stress. And that's just because this approach can be kind of stressful on yourself, and you don't want to wear yourself down by having to do it. So a couple of takeaways from this whole discussion of success. Most importantly, define success in your terms. Make sure, though, that you allow for some flexibility, because chances are your definition is going to change and adapt over the years. And don't panic if your definition of success changes. Some of you may have had that change in definition from fall semester to spring semester, freshman year to sophomore year, whatever it is there. It's okay for that to happen, and it's not something that you need to be scared about. You can always check in with myself, with, your academic advisor, career services, a faculty member that you get along with, great. If you're trying to figure out, what does my new definition of success look like? It can be really helpful to kind of soundboard ideas off of someone. But you want to find that definition for yourself so that you can start to set goals and accomplishments that you want for your life that kind of go in line with that. But with that, that is all I have for you today. So we'll end on this. Think about, what is your definition of success? Have a great day, everybody. I will talk to you later.